Our next guest started her career working in the medical field, and now she's an author. Based off some of her life experiences, she is here today to talk about her book, Fruit Fly Intelligence. Joining us is Paula Marucci, here to explain how it might be beneficial for us to tap into our spiritual side. Hello, Paula.
Hello, it's nice to meet you.
How are you doing today?
Thank you
so much for being here. Now, Fruit Fly Intelligence, first the title. How did you come to that title?
So title has something to do with some of the experiences I had, and it actually involved a fruit fly. But if I go backwards and tell you a little bit further in the past, so as a nurse back in 2004, I was working in the emergency department. I was extremely burned out and really needed a change. So I decided to go into the pharmaceutical industry. And by doing that, I ended up meeting somebody who became a bit of a mentor, a pharmaceutical mentor. And about a year after I was hired into a company, I started having bizarre events associated with this pharmaceutical mentor. And two of the events that actually occurred, one of them was like telepathy on steroids. You know, when you think of somebody, then they call.
Right.
This was a situation where I was heading to Tim Hortons for a coffee, and I looked up to the right, and there was a street sign that instantly reminded me of my mentor. And I looked again, and his name was on the side of a building. And then I looked forward, and the license plate also reminded me of him.
Wow,
but
signs.
It's bizarre, right? But then I went into Tim Hortons, stood in line, and I looked, and I got an unexpected text from him. And that's how this started to kick off, right? The second thing that happened also involved my pharma mentor, and we were, I was at a plenary session, so a conference for pharma, and the general manager was speaking at the time, and all of a sudden my mentor's mouth became superimposed over the general manager's mouth, and I thought, I think I'm losing my mind, or something's wrong with my vision, right? But sure enough, at break, my mentor had texted unexpectedly. So that kicked off this kind of spiritual awakening, this other side of me, because I was a nurse for over 10 years, and then I went in the corporate world in pharma and medical devices for another 20. But I started to have really strange things happen. It was stranger than fiction all the way through, and I actually learned that we are really connected to everything. And I had two experiences with a fruit fly, and that was the reason why I had a very bizarre experience, it ultimately told me that we are connected even energetically.
And through this book, what do you want readers to take away from it?
Really to understand that we are connected to people, places, and things. The whole universe is connected. And ultimately to respect, and that was why I chose this title, Fruit Fly Intelligence, or had guidance to come up with this title, to respect all things. I mean, we don't typically, you know, respect a fruit fly. I mean, when I looked at fruit fly, you're usually looking at ways to get rid of them. So that was the reason for this title. And the interesting thing that happened years later, as I started to do energy healing, I was working with a cardiac surgeon and offered to hover my hands, and with his permission I did, because he was having pain in his hip. And I hovered and I connected with whom I pray to, and all of a sudden I saw a blue flash of light over his hip. And I was shocked, basically. But the next day was equally shocking, because he came back to say that he received about 85% less pain.
Wow.
And went ahead to actually write a testimonial, and then wrote the foreword of my book.
Well, that's
so
amazing.
It's really bringing that kind of left logical and right intuitive side
all together,
blending it, and it really makes it for quite a wild ride. It's exciting.
Thank you. Okay, well, so where can people buy your book?
So you can find this on Amazon, of course, Ingram Spark, Barnes & Noble, for example, and I do have a QR code that is available if anyone wants to reach out to me and connect and talk a little bit about what I have learned, and certainly talk about intuition as a whole. I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.